Now, the only problem is the way Frank's wired, I'm trying to get his body to present, but is this okay? Do you get it?
Yes, I get it.
Okay.
Should her head be up a little bit more?
Well, this is where you're going to have to work with her on that. The problem is Frank's side. For me to sit there, yeah, one of the ways you would work possibly is you're going to go underneath here to hold her chin per se, as we're doing the hand function. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start just doing the hand, bringing the hand down to the table, because she can do that in lying down. If I lie Frank down because of his proportions and the way he's wired, I'm not going to get his arm like this. So I'm just going to start with him here. So there's different ways of bringing the hand to the floor. And with that, I'm going to also have here the artificial floor. So when she's on her belly like this, depending on where she's at, you can very easily now with her be like the cell phone or something, but you can sit here and work with the way her system starts to present to the floor. When you're doing it something like this, then the fingers can have space to go where they need to go, and you're just working on the floor coming really through the bottom part of the palm. So the floor is more here, so you can go this way, you can go this way, you can go this way. There's lots of ways of working the floor to allow that hand space versus the hand necessarily being outspread. This is important, especially too, not only with Ariana, but kids with CP. They don't necessarily, because of the contractions, are you going to be able to get, quote, the hand to the floor in that manner because of just, if you had spasticity in the hands, or what the biggest problem is with a lot of these kiddos, they're the thumb tuck. But again, her thumb is, out or coming out, so that's really pretty exceptional with her as well. A lot of these kids with low tone, more so want to just tuck that thumb under versus having the fully articulated thumb. But that being said, now I can work the floor more on an angle, and that angle, what I'm doing is I'm looking for eye function to hand. And this is really crucial here with all of that. There's two things that go on. This, I get it, where I'm like this on all fours and I can look the room. But at the same time, what a baby starts to do when they're starting to do airplane in that tummy time is this. So they'll be lying down, do you know what I mean? And that hand, and the hand comes into complete view into their system. They can map it, and then they start picking up items, and then they start working on the depth perception to go away and get it. Okay? So when those things don't happen, it is really important, and this is where I come into play with Diane or just my knowledge of vision. So see, I've got Frank's line of sight, and I can sit here like this.
So if it's not in her natural line of sight, what do I do?
Right now, if it's not in her line of sight, there's two ways to be working with this, and this is what we wanted to work on as well. So I have a little bit of a floor with Frank, just to give space for his fingers. And let's say Frank was looking over this way, right? And he was lying down. Coming in, and you're just going to hold on to the scapula. There's just a really nice place in the shoulder for your hand to be. And I'm rotating the wrist, and I'm sliding the scapula over. And again, you can have her lying down doing this. She does not even have to be, quote, present.
I see. Okay.
Do you see that?
It's hard to do it in this position.
Correct. It's hard to do in this position. In that position, what you're going to end up doing is something like this, where you're coming around like this, and now you're going to be more on the elbow and going to the floor this way. Does that make more sense? Because down here, you're going to lose her counterbalance.
Got it.
Okay? So, but what I'm trying to show you with all of this is are you working with eye hand? And if the eye hand is there, then you want something like this. And this can even be done in when she's sitting up. You can do the same kind of functions. Right now Frank's on his belly. Or if you're working with a counterbalance, you're bringing the hands down to the floor. Because eventually what you want to happen, which is if I can get Frank to present both his hands down, is again this counter. I'm countering to the right and to the left.
I see.
Okay. Another thing that this is really important with the low tone, or when you get the bilateral dorsal, more like what Santino has kind of thing. And I was working with a little munchkin yesterday. Do you see how the ulna and the radius want to line up with the hand in this position? Now again, if I was reaching down, I'm going to do these movements. But what the system is not learning is the function of the rotation of the hand around the ulna and the radius. So see in this position how, again, that counter. But, and I'm down here, see the difference? So not only does the ulna, the radius doesn't set up. See, this is where I have the argument with, quote, the myofascial tissue or that kind of thing. I get it that there's a ton of myofascial tissue between the ulna and the radius. Okay? But when you're just only working with that and not considering how the hand functions around those points, then you're still just like a scoliosis. You're going to have a thickening in an area that's more prominent than in the other area. Just like in a scoliosis, as the back curves, you're going to have a pull or the muscle structure that's going to be completely different, where you're having that tension, and that's why people say, quote, stretch. But to deal with the scoliosis, you want to say, oh, look, you can bend this way, you can bend this way. So the brain goes, oh, you mean I don't have to have my right side muscles contracting that vertebrae the way it's doing in the left, and they start to even out. I always go back to that Macy's Day Parade, trying to control a balloon. You have to, if the wind, they adjust, and these guys holding the strings have to play with how if they were all grabbing the strings at the one time, that balloon would just lose control. So that's the same thing how I look at the neck. So we've got to stimulate more of those little guys to go, okay, I'm pulling real hard over here, you loosen up over there, okay, I'm going over here,
I see.
That's how I kind of look at the human body in all the positions. So the same thing with the hand. So now in this position, now I can raise the floor and now start rotating through as he's applying pressure. But when I do that, see how with the shoulder girdle, and Frank immediately starts lifting his hand from the other side. So even in this position, I'm going through the scales of the clavicle and the scapula and initiating also that counterbalance.
So now, are you actually pulling on the arm?
It's not so much as a pull, but a rotation, and my intent, this thumb into the pressure into the wrist.
Okay.
Because that's the initiation of bearing weight. This to me is the same concept. What you just got, they're teaching you compression, right?
Yeah.
What I'm teaching you, very similar, is I'm rotating in. That wrist is still compressing, but it's still a functional rotation out and around. So she can be sitting up, and you're doing this kind of thing. This is where you can use your chest or your knee, that opposing. So her elbows, let's say, going into your knee. Same concept. So see, I want the shoulder to work around all of that.
Got it.
See that counter?
Yeah.
Okay. And I didn't get it on the other camera.
So how do you elicit that counter in the shoulder blade again? You did it initially.
Well, right now I'm just dealing with the hand, and we're slowly working our way up to show it from different angles. Remember, the human body distributes weight. I get that, but it does that in opposition to gravity, not to the gravitational field. So in other words, special needs is I shift my weight through my C7 and I fall down. Because gravity, just like this guy, has just won. Okay? What I'm trying to teach is just because I have that shift through C7, now the spine is countering to the pelvis, which is countering to the knees and to the feet. So I have that going on, which we covered the other day in class. And now I have it coming here where it's bilateral going from arm to arm.
Okay.
Okay? So that's where you're going back to, and I fixed the batteries. Okay. This is my little science experiment, okay? So let me pull iPad in closer. This is atomic function, okay? Any cell, nucleus electrons, works the same as our solar system. All our basic principles of force comes back to this, right? So now as these guys move around each other, this is the same to me as the spine. So as you see the big string here, this is the spine. But at any point, one round being the knees, the other round being the pelvis, being the arms, they need to work within one another's system.
Okay.
Okay? Most therapies like Boban and those kind of things, and even basic anatomy, starts dealing in planes. Like you have the arm, you have the leg. That's where it's this. So when you have a Newton's cradle, so if I just go to touch a system, that's all I'm getting.
I see.
That to me is a migraine, that to me is, so I can, yes, I can make it more complex and bring out where so I can start getting it more complex, but I'm still dealing with a very linear line of sight. So if I touch Frank, like this, I'm going to get that Newton's cradle. But if I touch Frank more like this, anything is possible because it starts working within one another. Does that make more sense?
It does.
Okay, so when I'm dealing with, sorry, science experiment gone. So when I'm working again with just this C7, I can't bring it to a point where he's going to just collapse and fall down. See, head is going past the elbow. We're now in a fall. Do you see that?
Yeah.
So for him not to fall, he's got to violently come back here because he hasn't learned that counterbalance.
I understand.
Okay? So if you look at this wrist as being more like that little gyro thingy that I showed you, and the same thing here with these clavicles or the back of the skull. So now see if I do this, it counters just like I was playing with that sphere.
That makes, okay.
Okay?
Excellent.
So I can be here in that scapula, and the scapula, I can change camera angles, and now I can rotate here, but see how now he's rotating through here. But see the head stability is in rotation. Okay? He's staying pretty much on the midline. If I didn't have the rotation and I just did a left-right, we're here. See how much more instability he has on the head.
Got it.
So for Ariana with her tone, this is just, you're gone. Collapse. And now I'm collapsing Frank's. So again, now Frank was just sort of lying down, right? This is as close as I'm going to get to just lying down, and his head was even off to this side. He doesn't have to be here. I can very nicely start working with him again here. Here meaning I have his thumb lightly rotating into the hand as the elbow is rotating around the thumb. So see this, just picture like if the hand is the sun and this is the earth orbiting around. Same kind of function.
So, but your right hand, is it moving in a...
Yeah, because I have to look at the orbit of the rotary cuff.
I see.
If I was just doing, this is a lift,
Yeah, you're not...
okay? I rotate around, see how smooth that is.
Yeah.
And that eventually would be rotate around and he lifts up.
Okay.
But again, this is where it could just be after a nap or what you're doing now, just this. But very important, you want that thumb to just lightly rotating in as the elbow is coming around. You're doing it more on the shoulder, but right now I'm doing it through the elbow.
So my hand is like the size of her shoulder and elbows?
Right, nope.
No.
That's where you have to look at the trajectory. Yes, this is a valid movement, I get it. Or I can be here with Frank with my arm on it. These are all valid movements, but just feel that. feel the fingers very lightly on top of the elbow, and the thumb is behind, just like you're doing on the condyles, and feel that rotation to rotation of the elbow rotating over the hand.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, see?
She's doing that now.
Right, but see how that's a completely different movement.
Yeah. Michelle, she's initiating. Do you see her?
Yeah.
She's. I'm rotating her wrist right now, and
Right.
she's doing the elbow. Is that good? To just let her play.
That's well. Anything that she initiates is more powerful than anything you could ever do.
So I'm using my thumb, and
Right.
my thumb is right where her thumb.
And you can start countering that, or that's where you can, if you had the phone, or that you were working on a floor difference. But again, you don't want to do it to such a level like you just did, and possibly wreck her initiation.
Got it. Okay.
So
she'll come back.
she'll come back, and if not, that's why she's a baby. Also notice too how I'm underneath the arm. I can be here lifting and working with that elbow. So there's different ways, but I want you to understand functional movement versus just movement. Again, these are all valid movements, but we're getting into really detailed work now that you need to start learning, because eventually too, rotating underneath the cuff, see, and rotating through the hand and that's bringing the body up. Now the body should have come up by just rotating the arms. I get that. However, her proportions have changed. Her head's bigger. And again, also when the hand knows how to go on the floor more, I can be underneath here with her bicep. Again, light rotation, and then work on, see how I can press through the elbow and lift the head up.
Okay.
But again, with this is where people don't understand just that initiation. See how that weight needs to transfer from the hand to the head lift. That initial transfer. You don't want to hand this and now that's a lift. You see the difference? Lift is much harder on the human body than a transfer.
So with my thumb over her thumb, sort of, can my fingers be under her hand and kind of...
Yeah, and you can start countering where if her elbows going the same, then you're doing the opposite. You're bringing the hand back now instead of while her elbows are going forward. But this is where you can literally just be like this and then slowly start twisting the hand as, the elbow's in that same trajectory. And the hand starts coming forward and sideways. But again, I'm not just pushing forward. I'm rotating. So I'm lifting up off the condyle, off the elbow, and pushing in. So my rotation on the elbow is like this. Thumb is sort of like lightly coming up while the fingers are pressing in. I'm being a little over dramatic for her elbow.
Okay. So her hand, she tends to have her hand behind her.
Right.
Back here.
Right.
Is that all right to just have her, where she naturally falls and work that way? Or should I try to move her hand forward where it should be more?
Well, right, you're asking two separate questions. So when her hand is back here, yeah, she's lying down. Now, this would be if I'm here and I go to get up, I need these forces. If I had to go to get up off my chair, I need to be able to press through with my hands long. The whole thing with standing, again, is the head going one way and the lower body going the opposite. So you have two opposing forces to get this to the same results. My feet go into the ground, my head raises, but I stand. Standing is not, okay, brace your ankles, brace your knees, that's not standing. That's a stick. So you can be like this. You can be like this with the arm out straight and do this. Now this again, rotation and rotation. See, now that's more complex. So she's learning how to get it into position. So that's this movement here. I'm here,
I see. Okay.
right?
Yeah.
But that's karate. I'm pushing someone away. I'm doing a block. I'm doing. So they're all purposeful movements. It's just you have to decide, quote, what you're working on when you're working on somebody. That's all. That's all that comes down to.
Okay. And if she starts pushing off her hand?
Right. Now what you can do is very detailed work. You can be just to the side. So instead of holding all of her fingers where you're across, so you literally can be just here and just here. So as she's pushing where her hand's going to torque. And she's pushing where her hand's going to torque. And she's pushing. But again, she's learning how to have an uneven surface. Does that make sense?
And how about my other hand? What should I be doing?
Well, it all depends on where the arm is. If she's lifting her arm up, then you always want the elbow there because you always want that counterbalance.
Got it.
Again, this is a lift. Again, see, if I have this book here, I get it. This is a lift. I need to be able to lift. But I either can lift like, oh, this thing is 10 pounds, or I'm going to roll onto my elbows, roll through my wrist, and lift it. And then this is a counter. And now this object is more a part of me. And not that I have an external object.
Got it.
But that's where a baby, they roll with an item. They roll with, and they can do all these things. But when a child can only roll or hold an item but can't do both, you know what I mean? That's where external items get difficult for their system because it's not integrated.
Okay.
Or one of the reasons, I should say. So now that, just like the artificial floor on the foot, that her hand, let's say, is more in this position, now you can come underneath the shoulder, right there, back to the elbow. So what you're going to do is push down into the elbow lightly and raise up through the shoulders. There you go, but just do that movement in half. So see how I'm just initiating that the elbow and shoulder. Does that make sense? You know when you're doing too much too when they go into a giant head lift. Or Now eventually with this movement you can be underneath the elbow and working with her head, towards lift, this way. I mean, this is where that movement can go, the potential. You can be more on the facial bones. But see here how, but again, that's going to be eventual. You want to stimulate the hands more first. But I'm just showing you where the movement is going to go into.
Got it, okay.
Okay, now I want you to put your hand on the other side of the elbow, still underneath the shoulder, and now rotate in. So see how this is a lot like, quote, the compressions that you were learning, but it's more into a movement. Does that make sense?
In towards the body?
Right.
Okay.
I can't just put down and get up. I need to rotate that elbow. See how my elbow just very slightly torques to bring that shoulder. But if I just have a hinge joint, you know what I mean? Now I'm stuck. I can only go in the direction where my elbow's faced.
I see.
And again, kids can get away with that into a certain amount, and you think they're doing great until they just say, I'm done.
Right.
But they have to learn, twist into the hands, twist into the elbows, and get up.
Okay.
But if I'm lying flat on the table with my arms like this, if I don't rotate those arms, I'm stuck. I'm not getting up. Period, the end. My arm totally has to come around, shoulders come around, and I push up. And also after you've done this for a while of rotate, then you can start playing, bringing the elbow down more and doing that. So rotating the elbow down. So see how by doing that, it's getting right underneath that shoulder cuff to start pushing up. But you don't want to start pushing up yet. I just want to start lining up the parts. Now if I go forward, then I'm going to pull the shoulder down.
Okay.
So see, going back, shoulder up, and then shoulder down. And then you can do it reverse. Shoulder down, and then shoulder up. But that is without counterbalance, that's same.
I see.
Shoulder up, elbow down, counterbalance, the head's much more stable. But if here, now the head is less, stable. So. Looking at a body like, a table with 3 legs is the same thing. You can function with a table with 3 legs, it'll stay up, but at the same time, it can be the most unstable thing in 3 seconds. So now you've got to change the counterweight that's on the top of the table or objects you put on the table so it doesn't go towards the side with no leg. So it's the same thing with the human body. They have to learn how to do that. Because even the way I'm squatted on this chair, you know what I mean, right now is like having a table with 3 legs. But I'm fine, I'm not going to fall down. But I'm not in a completely stable pose either.
Got it.
So now if you want to, you can start looking at the C7 profiles. And actually, probably at this point, I should change my iPad position.
So when you were saying, I too soon, how, in terms of progress in time, how do I know when she's ready for these next stages that you're showing me?
No, right now I'm waiting for you to be ready for the next stages.
Okay.
You have to understand these concepts. For you to
First.
get her to do master's level, it's just like you being a kindergarten teacher trying to teach college level chemistry.
Yeah.
And that's just not going to work, Yeah, you can get out the crepe paper and the glue. You can do only so much, but at some time you're going to fail. And then, so you can't blame the students when you're not at that same level. That's why we're going to start doing more Feldenkrais stuff, that kind of thing. I want you to understand the concepts of moving throughout the system in very finite ways. Right now you've gotten great, excellent on global ways. Now we're going to start breaking it down to real small stuff.
Okay.
And when I do this to you, while I'm here, this is what I'm building up to. I'm going to be doing real finite work on you. And,
Oh my goodness.
all of this I'm doing to you. This whole C7, what I'm about to do here. Now, this is really important. I don't want the weight of my hand here. I've got to be here enough to guide it, almost like a cranial sacral type of touch. So I'm on the system, but I'm not on the system. So cranial sacral, if you're not familiar, you're going to be like here. So enough for when the body, what it does when the body pulses and breathes, it touches you. So you're kind of touching it, but you're not. So it'll come. So as the body expands, you're there. So you can feel, that's what it is, the cranial rhythm, so you can feel the cranial pulses on the system. I'm being a little bit more dramatic so you can feel or see a system come to you. But if my hand is at all in this position, bearing weight, even if I'm not bearing weight, it's going to throw what I'm trying to do. Because now I have too much pressure either through the jaw, the chest cavity, whatever, which is creating just that little bit of friction that gets me. This is where, too, instead of the bolster, I might like a ball better type thing, because the ball is going to give me a bit more movement than the bolster. It just rolls in different positions.
Got it.
Again, my knee is up against the table. I'm crouched over. The hand already knows how to go into the floor at this point. This is not where you start off. And you've already done the elbow rotation. So see how I'm along the elbow. My thumb is guiding it. Very similar, like holding a gun type thing. And again, I'm just on top of the scapulas, and I'm going after C7. And just a light, you're going to feel a compression from C7 to the elbow, but at the same time, you're bearing weight onto the wrist. And then rotate back.
Your left hand is spread across both scapula and C7.
Yeah, I want the hand though more so across the back like this, but again where I'm not touching it.
Touching. Okay.
So it's allowing that breath of the body to reach up. But at the same time, I'm not like this. See, when I'm like this, now I have to hold my shoulder. And I don't want to have my muscles affect my touch.
Okay.
So see, if my shoulder's up, feel how it feels in your arm. And when the
Yeah.
hand's down, feel the difference.
Okay.
So I'm doing that for my touch. But I don't want my touch to supersede now her body functions. Because just me here, again, her spine won't move as much.
Okay.
So I'm just here. Now, even if you're not sitting here like this on C7, you're just with the fingers here. So you're rotating just that section of the neck. So you can do just one, or you can do a whole area of the back. So I either can spread my fingers out like this, or just, where I've got one or two fingers. And then again, I'm rotating and bearing weight over onto the wrist. Does that make sense? But honestly, if Frank is moving this much, this is where I call microsurgery without knives. What?
You're really taking this to a whole nother level.
No, I know. Well, you're ready.
Oh, thank you. This is amazing.
Isn't it?
I have to watch this video like 10 times.
But is it making more sense when I got out how the spine has a complete function going on? The counterbalance here now. And now we're bringing in the arms into counterbalancing against that. So it's almost like C7 has pelvic function in that sense. That C7 should be able to make a complete circle.
It makes so much sense. And it actually, again, I've always appreciated your touch, but I know how, like you said, this master level of touch, that all of this, especially the last time, Megan's like, I put her on all fours, but I don't do any, my thought process, and it's a whole nother level with Michelle. She's like, and she basically compared herself to a kindergartner too. Like, I am missing out on so much opportunity in terms of understanding movement.
Yeah, but at the same time, that kindergartner is at a mental level going, what are we doing today? Are we getting out the glue? Are we getting out that, versus the fifth grader and all that. It's like, yeah, whatever, I'm going to school.
But your touch, like, has all of this in it is incredible.
So now you can come under the hand maybe a little bit if she'll let you, after you've done this for a bit. And I'm going to rotate in the elbow, but it's like shooting pool now. See that twist? But I'm going after that C7. So that's the reverse of what I just did.
So I don't think I did enough, because...
That's fine, yeah. Honestly, and you can sit here with your knee against that elbow and into, where you're padded. I can have my chest here, hand into this, while I'm just sitting here just doing these minute little movements. Does that make sense?
You said before, you're not touching, like you're waiting for her breath and her movement to make contact with your hand, and
right.
Then you move?
Right.
Okay. Because you look like you're touching, but you are touching right now. But
yeah, I am.
Okay.
But this is where my guy from Spain goes, yeah, but she's not doing anything. He goes, yes, but in the nothing there's something.
Okay. No, that's so true.
Listen, you want that C7 to be able to go this, then look at how much more it can do this for head control. Does that make sense? So that's where we're going with the long run.
But I see now why you built up to that, because I haven't spent the time.
Yeah, it's like baking a cake. You can't stick all the ingredients in the oven and expect to get.
The system is not communicating right now.
So here, let me show it to you this way through me. So now I'm on quote all fours, right? So right now we're kind of learning this rotation. So if my hand's here, right? So again, if I'm lying on my back, without rotation, I might get airplane, but I'm stuck. I need to rotate my hands. Do you see that? And push up. And rotate down and come down. So now when I take that simple rotation, and now let's say if I want to transfer my weight to my left. See? how that rotation is completely like a tripod, not, polygon, I want to say tripod, but that's three, trapezoid.
Pentagon? No.
Trapezoid. See how I've got the,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
So I'm there, right? So now, let's say we get all of these functions. So see, now this is what I'm doing. See how the C7 slides for my shoulders. See that slide that we're working on now?
Yeah.
But that's at C7. If I kept my C7 still, where's this gonna go?
Right.
But with the C7 can slide, it almost looks like I'm sucking my shoulder into my head and coming out the other end. So once that's mastered, now we can work on the dips, where just like here on my wrist should be able to dip down and go above. Well, so should my C7. So at some point, I should be able to sink and lift the head up and go like this and bring my head down. So that's sideways. So this is what we're doing here with the elbows, right? Hi. And then this is C7 down, head up, and C7 up, head down. So this is our goal. Does that make more sense now?
Yep.
Okay. Someone brought
So
me.
building upon what we just did, how would we get that last, the final movement of the C7 moving in that way?
Well, I'm hoping, like I said, I've got that opening at 3-ish. But
Okay.
if you want to work on this, so I'm moving, let me move both cameras. Okay. So I'm coming underneath here, same thing. So you're going to still be underneath your that shoulder. So see how Frank's hand naturally wants to go down? Now if it's not sure, I can be right here. See how I'm right here on the head supporting that?
Yeah.
I can even use my chin now. And I'm going to rotate that chest down and bringing the head up and then allowing just the weight of the head and just that little bit to start initiating. Or I can be right here taking my right hand out, easier said than done. And this is where I'm here on C7. I pull and bring the head up and down. And then that would be, but in relationship to the hand.
Okay.
Okay?
So how would it, could you show us the movement in relation to the hand with C7 again?
So here, I'm underneath here because she's a munchkin. See how I'm right on the elbow with the head? And now I can have my other hand right here on C7.
Okay.
So I'm pressing down lightly and bringing the head up as I press down.
Because we've already worked on the hand, it would
Correct.
actually transfer to the
Right.
hand.
If we didn't do the hand, then that's where you get the, but you want that hand to be available first. Again, if you didn't have to do the head support, see how I can do here. See that there? Pushing down on C7, bringing the neck up.
So is that typical that you would work initially on the extremities and go towards the body, or not necessarily?
No, I can take this whole conversation doing the complete opposing way.
Oh.
You're good.
Oh.
So,
Wow, this was huge.
yeah. And then, like I said, we can do it from the opposite way. We can just do it where we don't even do the hands, just do C7. I can do it 50 different ways. The way she was lying down, took it to our advantage because she still has to learn how to lift the head. She can't do it without the arms.
Yeah.
You lie in that position, don't move your arms and lift your head up. With that, you need a very sophisticated back.
Oh my goodness. Michelle.
Right?
Thank you.
So here, I'll move Frank quickly just to show you that one and then we'll be done.
Okay.
So if I'm here, right, I can do airplane, see? And that's what should have happened. Airplane, and see with that, I can go wherever I want. Because the rotation's over on the chest cavity and with the pelvis, with the counter. That didn't happen. So fine, we're here. So to do here in this position with the larger head, for her to get, see the peak part up, she's gonna have needs such a force of counterbalance, not core. That spine is going to have to go down into the table at such a rate to lift that head up, right? So the easier way to do it is here, rotate, and bring head up.
Right.
So, and see, I still have that counterbalance through the spine, right?
I see.
But I'm using my arms.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's where you just have to look at her form, her functions, what's the easiest way to do it. With the baby, can't be difficult, it has to be easy.
Okay.
So.
Awesome. Thank you so much.